right, happy Tuesday, 8th graders. Today we are starting to talk about culture. So we are starting in chapter 4. It is 4 sections, so it's a little bit longer than chapter 1. And after this, then we're going to get started within our countries and our regions. So if you want, have Notability up with your notes, and we will go through some of these together. All right, so what is culture? Okay, so culture, and I believe this is number 1 for you. So culture is the set of beliefs, okay? So things that you believe in are relatively the same. You have the same type of values, and you practice the same type of things like language and religion and education and so forth, that a group of people are going to have in common. So some of these things that then fit into culture are going to be the language you speak, the religion or religions that you practice, things that we do in our day-to-day life, the clothes that you wear, the food that you eat, music, okay? And there's many more, artwork and so forth. These all define our culture. And as we know, and as we're going to continue to see in this class, is that cultures are different, all right? We are going to see that there are different languages. There are different religions. People's day-to-day is going to look different than ours. And we saw this yesterday when we watched some of the regions within the ocean with Human Planet. The clothing that we wear is different. The food that we eat is different. The sports that we play are different. The music that we listen to can be different. All right? All right. So, if you were able to, okay, or I always like to say if I were Miss Frizzle and this was the magic school bus and we could travel around the world, all right, you would notice that that all societies have certain type of culture traits that they're going to share. For instance, we talked about this the other week too. You are going to notice that no matter what size of the group, there's going to be some structure of government, okay? Governments can look different, all right? Even democracies, they are structured different depending on which country that you are in. But we as humans, there needs to be some sort of structure with somebody who is left in charge, all right? Educating children. So not every country and place that we are going to talk about have their kids go to school like we do here in the States. All right, the reason it is a law to have you guys go to school for a certain age is because the way our culture and our country is structured, all right? Right now, you guys are dependents, okay? You do not live on your own. You don't have a job that can bring in money. So for our country, all right, you need a source of income in order to survive. Well, to get a good source of income, you need a job. And to get a job, you need to be educated. Hence why kids here go to school. Now let's take, for instance, the people we saw yesterday on the video that where their whole community and village lived within the coral reef in the water. I can guarantee their kids are not going to go to school in a typical setting like we have, okay? So for them to make their kids independent as they get older, they are going to need to learn how to get food, how to survive. And that's going to look different for them than it does for us in the United States. So education is all about being able to teach your kids how to live and survive in your environment. All right, so again, education really does vary depending upon where you are. And one thing that I absolutely love is that they do create some type of music and some type of art, which is different. And I love seeing art and listening to music in different parts of the world. So again, we all, in a way, practice and use these things even though they all look different. And again, that's okay. All right, so what is a culture trait? Okay, if you have a trait, it's something that you can do, okay? So a trait is an activity, okay? So think of like, I have a trait, I can do this, okay? I can do this activity. So that's what I want. So this chapter, and especially this section, has a lot of vocab words that start with the word culture, okay? So we just have to think of ways to remember. So again, culture, trait, traits and activity. All right? People take part in. So for instance, especially in Minnesota, okay, and pretty much most of the United States, unless you're a full-time year-round school, we're gonna start school in the fall, okay? So we're entering our 5th week of school. Though some students have been in school for 2-3 months already, okay? But it is a trait that we have in the United States that we kind of start school in the fall and then we have the summer off, all right? The language we speak is going to be a trait, all right? Maybe some of you speak a different language at home than you do in school, all right? Sports we play. A lot of sports are starting to become what we'll call like culture diffusion or popular culture. So a lot of sports that we play here in the United States, other countries play. Like the one I think of is football or soccer, all right? And then some sports are becoming more common in the United States that are very common in other countries. Like one that comes to my mind is cricket, all right? So sometimes a culture trait is shared by many people around the world, and I think your textbook does talk about soccer or baseball, all right? All right, so again, some culture traits, again, are gonna be shared around the world, okay? So like soccer, it's such a great example because so many of these countries do participate. But others are going to change place to place, okay? And the one that I think is really great to talk about here for a culture trait is going to be food, okay? Because we all eat food. We talked about how we all need food and, just my love of food. But how do you eat your food, okay? So some places we're going to talk about and study, they use chopsticks, all right? I'm still practicing. Sometimes I have it down, and then other times it looks like a mess, all right? Some use forks and spoons. We're going to see bread. Bread is very common to use as a utensil, and then the super cool thing is you get to eat it, all right? I can put like chips in this too, like you can think of like nachos, okay? Or if you have like a big bowl of chili and you use bread to scoop it up, okay? Naan bread is used for that, any type of like flat bread. Most cultures and area, they have their own style of bread, and we will be making them throughout class as well, okay? And then fingers. All right, so it is common, and we will see that a lot of cultures, it is very common for them to just use their fingers. There's some foods that we eat that we would use our fingers, but again, it really depends upon where you go. So like if I were to invite you over to our house, and let's say I'm having chili, all right, and you use bread or your fingers to eat, I might be like, that's extremely rude, okay? Because it's not part of our culture trait. But then if I go to someone's house to go to eat, and we eat on the floor, and there's no utensils, and I'm expected to use my fingers, it would be extremely rude if I were to ask for a utensil to use. So again, it's so good to learn all of this and to acknowledge it and appreciate it. And again, and know it's okay. It's all right. All right, here we go. So how do cultures even develop? Like how do we have so many different cultures and culture traits around the world? Well, it's going to start with family. All right, family. I want you to think of your own family during this time and the activity that we're going to do later. Okay? So culture traits are often learned or passed down from generation to generation. So here in the Midwest, a lot of our ancestors, okay, and families, they come from Europe. So a lot of maybe our traditional forms, even when it comes down to our government, they stem from Europe. A lot of the food that we make in our house, okay, comes from Eastern Europe because that's where most of my ancestors came from, and they took all their traditions and cultures and traits and they brought it over to the United States. And then you repeat these things with your family and they tend to get passed down. All right, you right now are making traditions and traits and your culture within your household, and then down the road you might pass that on to your family. All right, so again, most traits are going to develop within the families. All right, tradition, food, and holiday and customs. And this is going to relate to another video that I'm going to post. And we are going to talk about, well, what kind of traditions do you have in your house, okay? When it comes to birthdays or celebrations, we are coming upon the holiday season with Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I know for my family in particular, and I have a feeling probably many of yours, there's going to be special food that is made. Maybe grandma makes something very special and she'll do that for every holiday, okay? She learned that from probably her parents who learned it from their parents and on and on and on. All right, and we'll be able to share, so I'm super excited about that. We kind of talked about laws and codes. Again, a lot of what we base the United States on, again, came from Europe. Okay, so they're kind of similar. Religion fits into this as well, okay? All right, so cultures also develop as people learn new culture traits. So somebody who, again, is going to move from one country to another, they're going to bring those traits and cultures with them and then expose them to others. And that's how we learn, all right? That's how we learn. All right, so Earth is home to thousands of different cultures, all right? Which, it's so neat. It is. We're not all the same, and we don't want to be the same, okay? That would be so boring. So thousands of different cultures, all right? So people who share similar culture traits, all right, are members of the same culture group. All right, so culture group. If you share similar traits, you can put yourself in a group. All right, so there is a culture group on age. All right, the teenage group. I could pair you with a teenager in almost any country, and even though you would have so many things different, I guarantee you would have a lot of things in common. All right, like the ticking to the talk videos maybe, all right, or your parents annoy you, all right, except for mine because I don't annoy him, right? You could have the same maybe grumbles about school or about life, or you'd have like the same excitement for things, and maybe you listen to the same music or social media platform that has brought so many groups together from around the world, all right? Oh, and there is a culture group of moms too, okay? You could put me together with a mom or a teacher in any country, and I guarantee you we would have things to talk about in common. All right, languages, all right? So language is something that really bonds people together. If you find somebody who speaks the same language as you do, you tend to form just this bond, okay? Language is huge, all right? It's huge. Religion could fit into this, okay? Even though, let's say, Christianity, okay? There's many different branches of Christianity, and there's also many different types of practice with the same religion as well, but yet we are all a group. All right, we could all be a group. You could group us together because of religion. And then, of course, location. So culture groups, too, they remind me of regions that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks in class, too, because you just need to have something in common, all right? Something in common to kind of verify your group. All right. So, here, I shouldn't have given that example because I forgot we actually have culture region. All right, so culture region is an area, all right, in which the people have many shared culture traits.
Could you try again?
Siri, sorry about that. Okay, Siri didn't understand. I hope you guys are. So, a region, again, in an area which they're going to share many of these traits. So they're going to have various things in common. All right, so in a specific culture region, people share certain culture traits, such as, but not limited to, your beliefs. Okay, you have and share some of the same beliefs. The language you speak. Okay, the religion you practice. The lifestyle you live. So I believe, do I have a page? Yeah, page 82. They're going to take, there's a big visual on page 82 with the Arab culture region. Okay, that's a spectacular example of a culture region. Okay, culture diversity. All right, we love diversity. So countries contain several different culture regions within their boundaries. So you can have, I think your book talks about Tasmania. Yes, I'm not seeing it though. But you can have a lot of diversity within a small country border, all right? And then you're going to be exposed to many different types of lifestyles and food and traits and languages and on and on and on, all right? So that brings ethnic groups, okay? So an ethnic group is a group of people who share common culture and a common ancestry, all right? So members of ethnic groups often share, okay, certain culture traits, okay? Some, but not all. It could be your religion, all right? It could be the language you speak. It could be the food that you eat. It could be the values that you have, the beliefs that you have, okay? That can fit you into an ethnic group. Here's Tanzania, all right. So with that, so Tanzania, okay, smaller country, they have 100-some different ethnic groups within their borders, all right? Now, you could look at this as, wow, that's awesome, that's great. Think of the diversity, think of, the acceptance and the learning and the sharing, all right? But unfortunately, sometimes when we have so many different ethnic groups in an area, that can also cause war, okay, and violence and disagreement, because some people really have a hard time with, if you're not like me, I don't understand, then there's fear, okay? But again, if we can educate and learn and accept and, learn that it's okay that we might be different. It's okay that I might not understand, all right? And then maybe get along better one day, all right? So a country with many ethnic groups is very culturally diverse. So culture diversity, again, is a state of having a variety, many, numerous, different type of ethnic groups in one area. All right. So culture and changing in the United States. Last year you took American history. And even when you go back 30, 40 some years, okay, or you can even go back 100 years, okay, 200 years if you want, our culture has changed. Some things, of course, have stayed the same, but culture is going to change as we tend to evolve and learn, and technology and transportation and so forth get better. That's just going to end up changing our culture, okay? And again, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just something I think that's kind of inevitable. We're going to change, all right? So when geographers study culture change, they're going to want to know, well, why? What happened? Was there war? Was there a change? Like, what happened to cause this? The internet, I know, is something that has really brought our world together. Like, of course, physically we're not smaller, but we are smaller in the sense that we are well more connected, okay? Like when I was your age, if I wanted to talk to somebody like in another country, it was like snail mail, and it took forever, and then they would read it and then write back, and we're talking like a good month, okay? Where right now, you could be texting somebody in a different country and they can be getting it. All right, and transportation is becoming so much quicker, and we'll talk a lot about that, especially when we go over to Europe. But that's like, so physically we're still the same size. Actually, we're growing with our population, but we're closer together and connecting, and that is going to change our culture. Okay. So innovation, contact with other people, new ideas, society, in contact with each other. Again, these are all ways that are going to change us. All right, and again, change isn't always bad. Give me a new slang word. I always hesitate when I do this in class time because I always wonder, am I going to say something there? I'll just laugh. But the one that I can think of is a drip. My youngest wanted to get something, a mask with that on, and yeah, I was that mom in the store on Urban Dictionary trying to look up what it meant to make sure it was okay. That's how old I am. But you know, like, and I take that word has had many different meanings depending upon which generation you go to. It's really funny how words have recycled. Like, it was a few years ago with like bae and stuff like that. I'm like, my grandmother used that word. But anyway, words are going to come and they're going to go. Clothing, okay, popular types of clothing. We're going to talk about how Italy and Milan is kind of like the fashion center, and then how that spreads. And again, social media has totally helped with that. So religious beliefs as well, ideas about government, again, they all spread, okay, they all spread. But yeah, that's culture diffusion. So I always think of something when it diffuses, it goes out. Okay, I think your book also talks about like baseball and how, and even basketball if you want to, and then it kind of like diffuses out to other countries and they, you know, accept it. Blue jeans, okay, that's another one that just went out, and then a lot of people started to wear and use them as well. All right, yeah, culture diffusion takes place as new ideas spread from one place to another. Oh, look it, huh? Even has blue jeans on there. So that is it. Let's see here. I think I went over everything. So 7, 6, and 7, I'm not going to give you those answers. I want you to look in your book, all right, at that. And then we have 2 true and 2 false, and some fill in the blank on the back. So let me know, email me if you have questions, and I can help you with that. And then stay tuned for the next video. I know this lesson was a little bit long. It's telling me 23 minutes. It's a long time of me talking. All right, you guys, good luck, have fun, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.